Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest instalment of our LISW23 London interviews. And I'm delighted to welcome four very good panelists today, and very much sort of behind the development of this year's LISW Headline Conference. And it's very much on the theme of reframing risk in a complex market. But without any further ado, you'll see on the screen in front of you, we've got Jos Standerwick, who's CEO of Maritime London and chair of the LISW23 Conference Working Group. So Jos, good to see you. We have Siiri Duddington, who's partner and deputy head of the London office of Hill Dickinson, and Siiri is one of the moderators for one of the sessions. We also have Steve Davies, CEO of Anglo International, and again, hi Steve, and again, one of the moderators, and look forward to getting your thoughts and your views on your session there. And last but not least, Martin Crawford-Brunt, council member of the Baltic Exchange, and again, Martin, looking forward to you giving us your sort of insight into your session and really what the delegates and the potential delegates can look forward to. The conference itself will be held on Wednesday, the 13th of September. An amazing venue of the plenary hall of the International Maritime Organization in Albert Embankment. We held it there 2 years ago. A tremendous venue. We couldn't ask for better. And it will be followed by an excellent reception on the terrace as well. And our thanks to Zakos Energy Navigation for sponsoring the headline conference. And also, we look forward to hearing. And Nicholas is one of the speakers as well during the day. But without any further ado, Jos, can I start with you as chair of the LISW Conference Working Group? What are you hoping to achieve through the conference? What are you hoping to hear? It's all about blue sky thinking as well, isn't it?
Well, Sean, I think to start off with, the LISW main conference, I think, is almost unique in its brief when it comes to shipping conferences, I suppose, in that it's not sector specific or discipline specific, and it has to relate to all of the subsections that exist within the global market. And, we want to explore and inform and importantly, suggest solutions in regards to some of the biggest issues that are facing the international market at the moment. And I think trying to do that in a single day without sort of perhaps falling into the trap of repeating sort of sound bites that everybody within the shipping market has heard many times before presents quite a challenge, to be honest with you. And that's why we put together a really excellent conference working group, of which Steve, Martin and Siiri are all members of, which represents that broad section of the shipping industry. So we can really get into some of the issues that we are experiencing at the moment and work out how we can design a conference that really does innovate in the way in which it addresses the way in which we talk about decarbonisation, the way in which we talk about the way in which geopolitics interact with the global industry, and then subsequently, I suppose, some of the security concerns that exist around that in an exciting and novel way. And I think just to build on that, I suppose, I think so much of what we talk about revolves around future risk in the market, and that's why we decided on that title of reframing risk in a complex market, because where there is risk, I think there is also opportunity, and the opportunity to reshape a market and provide solutions and genuinely collaborate. Sometimes collaborate through choice, but also sometimes collaborate as a consequence of regulation. And being able to explore those at the conference, I think, is really important. So we've really attempted to split it up into three primary sectors. So to start off with, we'll have an introductory session, and we're unable to announce some of the speakers within that introductory session, but we will have some of the leading, I think it's fair to say, political commentators, which are politicians that are exposed to the shipping industry, sitting in that first session of the day. And I think that's going to be a really good precursor to the discussions that are going to follow that opening session. And then we're going to move in to explore how the industry is adapting and changing as a consequence of some of the external factors that are putting pressure upon the marketplace. And that's the session that Steve will be moderating. And then we'll move into looking at particularly the relationship between the primary counterparties in the market, and the way in which the regulatory environment, but also the wider environment, is changing the conversations and the relationships between the primary parties which exist within the shipping value chain, I suppose. And to coin a phrase from Martin, how we can create a market that plays better together. I think that will be an important sort of focus in that second session. And then the last session of the day is going to be Siiri's session, which is going to try and encapsulate the discussions that take place throughout the day, and then look at what that might mean for the shipping industry moving forward. But importantly, the solutions that can be deployed to go back to the title, to try and mitigate some of that risk which we are currently facing. So I think we've put together a really exciting conference program. I think importantly, we have a really varied mix of speakers from different disciplines, some well known in the industry, some newcomers to the industry, from diverse backgrounds with diverse perspectives in terms of the issues in which we're all facing. And I think that should make for a really engrossing conversation in all three of those sessions. So yeah, sorry, go on, Sean.
No, and before I go on to talk to Steve Martin and Siiri about their sessions, I mean, we've also very lucky to have Paddy Rogers as well as the overall moderator, and you know, and a few words there, Jos, on Paddy, because he's an excellent choice, isn't he?
Well, I'm a big believer in corporate memory and continuity, Sean. And this isn't the first time that Paddy has moderated or chaired the conference. And I think having that thread of continuity is incredibly important, actually, because one hopes as chair, he'll be able to take a holistic look, I suppose, of the journey that the shipping industry has been on over the previous iterations of the LISW main conference, and draw some of those threads together, I suppose, looking at some of the discussions which have taken place previously. So I'm really pleased that Paddy's accepted to chair the conference again, and I think that continuity piece that can draw together some of the discussions that have taken place and the discussion that will take place this September is really important.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jos. Bringing you in, Steve, and I'm going to go sort of session by session as we're going through the day. You're going to be looking at the external industry factors and shipping in context. Do you want to just give us your sort of view on how your session has actually been crafted, maybe a bit of an idea of some of the speakers there, and what you hope to really achieve from it?
Sure. Well, like you said, we are going to be looking externally on our panel. I think more than ever, there seems to be more of a focus on things from outside of our industry that are impacting us from a risk perspective. It's not just the typical market fundamentals that we often consider when we're looking at supply demand type risks within the industry. There is a lot hitting our industry right now, and the external panel is going to kind of try and corral all of those different issues and bring them together along the lines of the sub-themes. And I think it's pretty fortunate we've got these sub-themes. Otherwise, this could actually be quite a significantly broader discussion. I think from a macro perspective, you know, we want to try and get an overview, and we're lucky to have a hidden geopolitical commentator joining our panel, who's really going to come in and start us off with, this is what's going on internationally, this is what we are facing, not just shipping, but this is what the world is facing. And then turning to some of the other participants in the panel to talk about their views on how these risks or where these risks are ringing true within their businesses, and get their views on how they're dealing with these macro risks, how they're influencing decision makings at different points of the supply chain in shipping, and how they're managing stakeholders' expectations in that respect. And we'll be having representatives from Shell, so that's kind of owning, operating, chartering perspective, IKEA from a shipper and end users type perspective, and representative of the International P&I Group as well. So along with this geopolitical commentator that I expect will not pull any punches, we're really going to get some good views here from across the sector on how these risks really are being dealt with and handled from industry perspective. So we'll get that geopolitical picture, and in line with the sub-themes, that's going to roll into compliance discussions, and what is maritime transportation's role in that. We can expect that to touch on sanctions as well as banking systems, etc. Probably then take the discussion into the security side of things, notably energy security, energy, a sector that is intrinsically linked to shipping, and then taking that into discussions around decarbonization, and hopefully going to Jos's point, what element of this collaboration, because we've got great representation on this panel, what element of collaboration should or isn't happening? Because we do all want to understand what element of obligation, what element of responsibility is being taken where, and of course, where is the commercial impact of that? We all have our internal and external discussions about this, but get in a group of people who really represent a significantly important part of the industry, we'll be able to see, okay, well, what are they doing? And hopefully we'll all have some useful food for thought to take away into our own businesses.
And just to sort of remind viewers here that they can go onto the LISW23 website, the London International Shipping Week website, and the conference program is up there. And indeed, as you say, with the speakers, the panelists you have there, Steve, you've got that good cross section there, and even including Michael Parker from Citi there as well, to give that perspective in there as well. So it all looks well for a good session, I guess.
Absolutely. As the panel is debating all these various subjects, we'll be inviting questions from the audience, I believe live and remotely, to make sure that the important questions are being asked.
Martin, let me bring you in now. The next session being the internal industry factors, collaboration or fragmentation. We've just had MEPC 80, we know, and how will the industry respond to that sort of regulation? But give me your sort of insight into your particular panel and what you hope to get from it. We are just looking at the program here. I understand we also have the new Secretary General-elect from the IMO, for instance, who's going to be on your panel. So again, some big hitters there, but give me your thoughts.
Yes, thank you, Sean. I mean, the stage is really set for a great conversation, and Jos alluded to that in his opening remarks. Collaboration, whether by choice or by regulation, is a big subject and a big topic for discussion, because I think that we all too guilty of falling into a siloed approach in terms of how we try to solve and address, decarbonization and emission reduction in the near term. And if we were getting a scorecard, I think it would be should do better, can do better. So I think, the theme of this panel is going to be really shipping should do better now. And as you say, we've got an excellent panel to debate this, including the new Secretary General, who is the current chair of the Environmental Committee. So who better to give us a vision and a reflection in terms of what's going on from a regulatory side of things. We're also going to tease out the market dynamics. So if regulation is somewhat complex and dysfunctional, where does that leave the market, and how does the market interpret that? So we've got, senior partner from SSY joining us, the sort of the market and the brokers' perspective on this. In addition, a lot of industry commentators have pointed to the challenges in terms of the legal and contracting structure, and some have even gone so far as to suggest it's not fit for purpose. So we're going to discuss that as well. So what needs to change in order to enable us to play better together, in order to deliver these outcomes we all seek? Because frankly, as industry professionals and leaders, we all understand that shipping's come a very long way in terms of improving emissions and the efficiency of transport, and that should not be discounted. However, I think most industry leaders and professionals understand that much more could be done, for instance, operationally as one example. But I think, having the charter also on board, we'll also pick at this whole idea of, the degrees of freedom within which different market participants can act, because I think we do need to recognize that not everyone has the same opportunity to act to reduce emissions in this. So I think, we're really set for a fantastic debate about, are we market or regulatory led? What are the dynamics? And I think really the core of this is how do we play better together to deliver emission reduction in the near term with the existing fleet, putting to one side alternative fuels and technologies which are clearly required. But I think the focus of this panel is going to be, as Jos also alluded, in terms of the solutions and things we can offer the industry right now to make progress. And I think we should be embarrassed as an industry if we don't make more progress now.
And I think, looking at the aspects that you want to, takeaways from the actual session as well, you've got strong speakers in that session, but you'll have strong participants in the audience. And I think, this is something we mustn't forget, that there is going to be a great opportunity there for the audience to be questioning and to becoming involved as well. All looks good for a very, very strong session there. And I guess really touching on collaboration, touching on innovation, which will then lead into Siiri's session, Martin.
Yes, very much so. And perhaps we should have a fine system for anyone who uses the word collaboration without saying how.
Yes, I've been to conferences like that myself. Siiri, let me bring you in to discuss your session, actually, looking to innovating to mitigate risk. And again, very, very good lineup of speakers. Do you want to just give us your sort of rundown on what you want to get out of that session, and sort of things that maybe some of the delegates should be keeping an eye out for?
Yes, absolutely. So I think really our session is going to be mapping out, what the future of the industry might look like. And there's going to be a focus on business and technological innovations that the market will have to adopt in order to address some of the concerns that will have been raised, some of the themes that have already been mentioned: geopolitical, security, decarbonisation, and so forth. As Jos mentioned, we have an excellent panel made up of a very diverse range of panelists representing different sectors of the industry. And some of them are at the forefront of a lot of these issues. And what I would like to try and do is work out through all of them this issue of risk mitigation, which is what Jos mentioned earlier as well. What sort of strategic planning is now in place? How are they hedging their risks when it comes to things like compliance, like geopolitics, like decarbonisation, for example? What sort of management protocols are being put into place, to try and meet some of these concerns, both internal and external. And I think there's going to be quite a significant emphasis on technological innovations. And like Martin says, we need to really drill down into the detail of that. So what does that actually look like in real terms? Because it's one thing to say, we're at the forefront of, technological advancement, of digitalization, all of these kinds of terms, but what does that actually look like practically speaking? And I'm hoping that I can draw on the expertise of each of the panelists to work out what are they doing at a practical level internally to meet some of these concerns. There's not a lot of time actually, to try and deal with all of these themes in quite a lot of detail. I actually wish that we did have more time because some of these topics are huge. I mean, if you take decarbonisation, for example, you're looking at things like data gathering, emissions measurements, supply chain footprints, all of those sorts of things. These are really big topics that need to be grappled with. And I'm just hoping that, our panelists as sort of thought leaders can offer, their sort of unique and fresh perspective on all of these issues as they see it from their particular sector. But then, as Martin says, how are we all working together, for this vision for the future? And importantly, also just to mention that it's not just looking at technology, but also looking at people as well. So, we have a representative from the ITF who will be joining us. So also to see, what impact does that have on crew, for example? Is that something that we should be giving consideration to? when we're looking at things like technological innovation and advancements and things of that nature. So it's really, quite a broad topic, even just looking at things like cyber risk management and all of those sorts of things. But hopefully, we can all share our experiences and our ideas and come away with, some practical tips for how people are engaging and implementing mechanisms to try and meet some of these concerns.
Brilliant, Siiri. That's lovely. Yeah, I mean that's going to be a very interesting session. I think really, the industry is accelerating down that path of innovation and looking to drive value to the bottom line. So that's going to be interesting to see what some of the comments are going to come out. Yeah, as I said earlier on, rather the start of this discussion, we will then have a reception after the conference, which will be held on the terrace of the IMO building, a tremendous venue overlooking the Thames. And thanks to the government of Gibraltar and the Gibraltar Port Authority and the Gibraltar Maritime Administration for helping us on that as well. I'd just like to thank the panelists today. Thank you very, very much indeed for your help today. It's been really, really good to get your insight into what the day is actually going to be unfolding at the IMO building. It's going to be very, very exciting. So thank you very much indeed, and we look forward to seeing you on the Wednesday during London International Shipping Week. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.